This is a global university of choice, a university of what ifs and what next, an ambitious university of anything is possible, an outstanding university of teaching excellence and applied research, of aiming high and raising the bar. This is a university of big ideas, an applied university of today and for tomorrow, a university of making a difference and making your mark. This is the University of Derby. What will you make of it?
Hello and welcome to the University of Derby's Open Day live stream. We're here to welcome those of you who can't join the thousands of guests we're expecting to arrive at our Derby campus today.
Over the next hour or so, we'll be taking you around our sites, as well as introducing you to our students and staff from across the university, who will help explain more about our courses, campus facilities, accommodation, and some of the reasons why we believe you'll love Derby.
We'll explore what makes Derby such a fantastic place to live and study, and we'll focus on several of our subject areas with some of the people that teach and study them. And we'll share some of the fantastic news Derby has had recently that recognises how impactful our university is.
If you're watching live and have got a question for us, send it in for our Q&A session at the end. First though, here's a quick introduction as to what you've got to look forward to as a University of Derby student.
Welcome back to our Open Day live stream here at the University of Derby. Our first guest today is someone whose role fundamentally shapes the student experience, our Vice-Chancellor, Professor Catherine Mitchell. Hi, Kath.
Hello.
So what would you say are the sorts of things students need to be thinking about when they're looking for a university?
So for me, there are three critical areas that I would want them to really focus on when they come to university. First of all, the subject area that they are looking at, and making sure that the facilities that we have actually are going to be able for them to progress and engage with so that they feel comfortable in the academic environment. The second piece, I think, is about engaging with the academics on an open day, asking questions with them, seeing how they sort of can engage. And the third one is actually walking around the campus, thinking, could this be my home? Could I work and live here? And also with other students, feeling, would they feel confident? Because the most important thing for me about a student engaging and feeling it could be their university is how confident can they be if they were studying here at Derby?
And one of the ways in which we describe ourselves is an applied university. What does that mean?
So, for me, what that means is for all of our curricula, we work with our industry partners, and that could be health, or it could be engineering, or it could be with the legal services, in looking at what we teach them, and is it actually current? So is the currency with the organisations where they in the future would want to work and get a job? So firstly, our curriculum is very much embedded with our industry partners. The second element of the applied is that then how will they use that knowledge when they're at university and beyond? So during their time with us, we would want to get work experiences so that actually the knowledge that they're learning can be applied and they learn how to apply it. And then finally, in their final year, most of them will do a project, and that for me needs to be in partnership with industry partners so that they absolutely get both the insight from the industry and from the academic side.
And I suppose that extends into the research being undertaken here as well. What can you tell us about how research at Derby works, and are there any opportunities for undergraduate students to get involved?
So for research, all our curriculum needs to be underpinned by evidence-based, so that it has to have research at the heart of it. So every piece of knowledge that you will learn here has to have evidence-based, so research is attached. But we also want students to learn the skills of doing research. And so we have a fabulous undergraduate research scholarship scheme that we encourage our students to participate in. Many of our academics really encourage their students to support them in their own research activities. But what I would always say to students is, get involved. Lots and lots of activities are about our research, not just when it focuses on the word research, but if you're getting involved in teaching and learning elements, please make sure that you ask about how does this link to research.
And Derby has received lots of national recognition this year from a number of organisations. Which of these do you think are most relevant for prospective students to know about?
So clearly the most important one is TEF Gold. That tells us that we have outstanding teaching and learning experiences here at the University of Derby. And we are one of only a third of universities have achieved that absolute gold standard. So I'm incredibly proud of the university. And also for students, that does give them an assurance that the type of learning they're going to receive is fit for the future. The second one, I think, is around how satisfied are our students and are they happy in their courses here at Derby? And so we are ranked as number 20 for teaching excellence and also for that student experience, both with the Times and also the Complete University Guide.
Brilliant. And finally then, is there any advice that you'd give to students who are in the early stages of the process of applying to university?
I've been giving this advice for all of my time in academia, but the most important thing for me is that you actually study something that you are passionate about. Please don't be persuaded by people that it's a great course because it might earn you a lot of money or give you a great job, because you've got to be here for 3 years studying something you're passionate about. And it is the role of the university to make sure you get a great graduate job, but fundamentally love what you learn, because actually that will stand you in a great stead for your future careers.
Excellent advice. Thank you very much for taking the time to speak to me today. I know you've got to rush off now and deal with all the visitors that are arriving, but I really appreciate you joining me to speak to everybody who's watching online. Thank you very much.
Delighted.
Thank you. Now, it's not just life on campus that you've got to look forward to as a student. There's plenty of things you can get up to in the city, whatever your interests are. Here's a look at student life in Derby and Derbyshire, and afterwards join us from the studio where we'll be finding out more with the Union of Students. Hello, we're still coming to you from the studio for our Open Day live stream. We've been joined once again by Dominic White, the President of the Union of Students for this year. Hi, Dom.
Hi, Alice.
So, Dom, can you explain to us what can students, when they arrive in September, expect from the Union of Students?
They can expect multiple things from the Union. So, for example, the Union offers them an advice service which covers everything with well-being, from housing matters, money matters, but even their academics. We also offer them an exciting opportunities with our extracurriculars, for example, in sports, societies and student-led services. There's a vast array that they can get involved with us. And then finally, we also offer them opportunities within Student Voice, such as our student representation scheme, making our students' voices heard through every level of the university.
Now, obviously, we're coming up to September soon when our new students will be starting, and a big part of that, I know, is Freshers Week. What is Freshers and how does it help students get acclimatised for life at Derby?
Well, Freshers is based over 2 weeks, and it's a full 2 weeks of free events that we give to the students via their wristbands. It gives students the opportunity to meet new students, but also socialise with those they've met in their cohorts or those they've lived with. And it's an excellent opportunity for students to get out and about, see what it is the union and the university offer to them, but also see what the city can give to them as well.
And I know societies are a big part of what the union organises or supports. What is a society and how do students go about getting involved?
Well, union societies are an excellent opportunity for students, again, to grow hobbies or learn something new. Students can be involved with our societies programme through numerous measures. Best of all is meeting our committees at Freshers' Fair and going along to give it a goes. Societies are an excellent opportunity to learn something new alongside your degree, build or continue a new hobby and make new friends and go on adventures. In the History Society, I know they like to visit museums across Derby but also further afield, and also have lectures given to them by world-leading academics who come in especially just to see them.
And what about more active things such as sports? Is it really competitive? Can anybody have a go?
Absolutely. Our sports programme is designed for everyone of any ability. You don't have to be an Olympic athlete, but if you are, we'd love to see you anyway. We have lots of opportunities within our sports programme for any level of competition, whether that's within the Halls programme or our more recreational but still competitive Just Play programmes we have with the university, or within our highly competitive Bucks Wednesdays, where Union Sports and Team Derby travel across the country representing the university and the union, taking on our biggest competitors in sport.
And so for lots of people watching, Derby is going to be a new place for them. And when students do join us this year, what can they expect from Derby as a university city?
I think one of the best things they can expect from Derby is that it's not too big. Derby as a city is just the right size to have everything in it needs, but also have quite a homely atmosphere. Within the city, there's lots of opportunities for shopping with the Derbian, but also our outlets and friendly nights out, especially those that have been accredited with the Purple Flag Scheme, which all of our Stonegate venues who we work with in the city have been accredited with. So there's lots in the city for students to be involved with, but also I think within wider Derbyshire, you've got some of the most beautiful countryside to be able to go and visit right on our doorstep.
Oh, absolutely. So there's lots of different things for lots of different sorts of people. How do you and the union go about really celebrating and making sure that inclusion is a real focus?
I mean, as a union of students, equality, diversity and inclusion is at the very heart of what we do. And we make it our goal and our compliance to go well above all legal standards that have been set. So when it comes to how do we celebrate and educate individuals on minority groups, we go our very best mile to make sure we're doing all that we can through Liberation Months, for example. So we have Black History Month, Women's History Month, Inclusive Sport Fortnight, where we celebrate parasports and Paralympians and para-athletes, and of the like. There is lots of opportunities that the union puts on, and campaigns in particular, that help us celebrate and educate everyone on the incredible individuals that make up our community.
So for any students who are wanting to get involved but might be a bit nervous or worried about it, how do they go about making that start with you?
Well, we always say to those students who are feeling a little bit nervous about approaching our students directly, come speak to us as executive officers. Our office is bang smack in the atrium and we're always visiting lots of other campuses. So we always say, come speak to us, let us help us introduce you to the wider student body. But also as well as that, our students are very friendly. We take very great pride in the fact that our committees are so approachable. So we'd always say, even if you don't necessarily feel the confidence, reach out. Our student committees are ready and waiting and they'd love to have you, as whether it's part of their sports club, their student-led service or their society.
That's brilliant. Thanks, Tom. A really welcoming and supportive approach there from you in particular. Thank you. Thank you very much. Let's take a few moments now to find out more about the University of Derby.
Hi, my name is Shan.
Ndewono, aham bu Lawrence Nduku.
सलाम मेरा नाम मोहम्मद अली है
不呢，numele meu este Cristina. 你好，我是李乐。
Servus, mein Name ist Matthias.
Bună, numele meu este Ioana.
Hi, my name is Karen.
Cześć, mam na imię Natalia.
I came here, I didn't know anyone, no friends, didn't know what to expect.
Like the first day I was here, I sat down in the classroom and I was like, what did I get myself into? I don't understand nothing this man is saying. The accents, they all sound like Harry Potter.
I was worrying about being by myself.
I was just worried about living. I mean, you know, just like the cost of living.
And how people will welcome me, how they will react.
But here in Derby, people are so friendly. They made us feel settled in very, very fast.
After 3 years of living here, I feel like Derby is kind of like my second home. It feels like they are just from my country or I'm from here.
It's a very, very friendly and very personal atmosphere. It's like a big family.
I would recommend the University of Derby because it's so easy to connect with people and it's so easy to get the support, to get the opportunities, and all you have to do is just want.
When you live in your home, you live in your parents, you really can learn how to face the world and you really to learn how to become more independent, becoming more strong.
There's a team of professionals here who will welcome you. They will make you feel like you're in second home. So don't worry, just pack your bags and make a decision and you will enjoy it.
Welcome back to our Open Day live stream. You may have already started looking at what you need to do to actually apply to the uni. To help demystify that process, we're joined by our Head of Admissions, Helen Mercado. Helen, hello.
Hi.
How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you.
You're good, thank you for being here. So just to start off with, how would you say the admissions team, how do they support the students' applications?
So we receive all of the student applications across the university, so for undergraduate and postgraduate applications and also home and international students.
Yep.
So we get all of those come into our office and then on behalf of the university we process those, obviously against the entry criteria. And we support the applicants through that journey. So, so every part of the process, so helping them to submit their application if they need the help, but also then once they've submitted them, if they have any questions and that kind of thing through the process, we would support them through that. We invite everyone to interviews, we help them with portfolio submissions, and then we also process their results when they come through. And collect supporting documents and things like that. So really all the way through the applicant journey, we're there for the applicants to help them and try and get them hopefully to an offer as quickly as we can.
Nice. So there's quite a bit to think about.
Yeah, that's it. Like thousands and thousands of applications.
Yes.
And we have obviously several intakes as well. And we also have the online provision as well. So we support all of those applicants as well.
Nice. Goodness. So yeah, kind of like you mentioned, so there are obviously going to be quite a few students that are doing this for the first time.
Yeah.
So what kind of advice could you give to those people that are going through the process currently?
So I think, I guess just sort of taking the time to do things properly. So in terms of when people are deciding where to apply, just thinking, doing their research, looking at the courses, the course content, the location. So obviously Derby is a great city to come to, but really sort of looking into that and trying to spend some time talking to some of the students as well. So we we have a provision here at Derby that people can reach out to students that are currently on the courses. So I would definitely recommend that we're doing that as part of that journey. But I would also say that when they are then making that application, to provide us as much information as possible so that we can process it as effectively as possible and as quickly as possible. I would also say, particularly those coming through the Central Admissions Service, UCAS, obviously there is the January equal consideration deadline that is the 31st of January.
Okay.
So I would say, we receive a huge number of applications running up to that deadline. So really, if they can put their applications in before that obviously helps speed up the process for them. And we're able to sort of get to them a little bit more quickly than we might if they apply right around the deadline.
Yes.
So I would definitely say to sort of, to spend the time doing that research, make sure they present that full application, spend time doing their personal statement as well. That's really important. I think I look at it as a little bit like their first job application kind of thing. It's a really good opportunity for them to, to think about, impressing the university, if you like. Yep. Just sort of telling us, why the course that they've chosen, what it is about that, what their career aspirations are, yes. and why they think they're a good fit for that programme as well. So, thinking about all the things they might have done, volunteering, all of those different things, to include that in their personal statement, so we can actually use that when we're assessing their application.
Goodness, absolutely. I do agree. It's like in terms of the way you've got to sell yourself, it's very similar. A lot of similarities there. Yeah. And in terms of the admissions process, does it kind of differ between UK students and international?
So it can do. So international students, undergraduate students can apply through UCAS as well as home students. So that functionality is there for them. They can use that. A lot of our international students don't. They come through our agent network, so they can apply directly to the university. So there are slightly different things, obviously, that an international student might have to do, because they will have to get a visa later down the line, and things like that. So, but generally say that UCAS option is available for undergraduate students, or they say they can apply directly on our website. So if they go on, and they can apply on our portal.
Nice, thank you. Makes sense. And the personal statement, the aspect of it, that's something that I imagine many students have heard about by now. So how much attention would you say is put into that by our admission team and academics?
So we definitely look at it as part of the application process. So it varies by course how much the academics will, because for the most part the admissions team have delegated authority to process applications. Yep. So for some of the more selecting courses, say like nursing and things, there's definitely things that they specifically look for, as we're shortlisting for interview and things like that. So definitely thinking about, mentioning, the course that you want to do, why you want to do it, why there's that drive, why that particular, if it's nursing pathway, that kind of thing, and just making sure that it's really clear what your aspirations are, and that actually that is the course that you really, really want to do. Yes. So that we can obviously take that into consideration when we're processing it.
Nice, thank you. And in terms of the students that have already submitted their applications, when should they typically expect to hear back from the university?
We try and turn things around as quickly as we can. There are different points of the year that get busier. Like I say, the equal consideration deadline for the UCAS applications tends to be a lot busier, and we would take a bit longer. But I would say normally within sort of 3 to 5 working days, I would hope, for most of the undergraduate applications that come through.
Okay. Goodness. And what happens when the course has an extra step to complete? Say, for example, like a portfolio or like an interview?
Yeah. So the interview courses, we will shortlist to interview. So we will receive the application, we will shortlist against the shortlisting criteria, and then my team will reach out and invite applicants to attend that interview. So this year we are running both on-campus events and also remote events. So people will have the opportunity to choose which option they prefer. Okay. So they will get invited. They will get links to the web pages where all of the information that they need to know about what they need to do to prepare and where they need to come if they're coming to one of the on-site events. Yes. All of that information is then sent to them so they can prepare in advance of the interview. And then for the portfolio courses, typically we would reach out to applicants if a portfolio is part of the selection criteria and request that as part of the process. Right. So they could expect to hear from us if they hadn't submitted that at the point of application.
Okay, goodness. And in regards to students that have any kind of specific support or well-being kind of needs, when should they be making that known?
So what I would say to that is, in admissions, we don't tend to take that kind of thing into consideration. So it's not part of the application process. We sort of treat everybody equally, if you like. But I would still say it's really important to flag anything like that as early as possible in the process, so it can be picked up by the appropriate team, the wellbeing team, and they can sort of be in touch with applicants and make sure that any reasonable adjustments, that kind of thing, that we can make in advance of the term starting. So I say sometimes we struggle if there are late applicants to meet sort of needs of everybody. So I would say as early in the process as possible, absolutely flag it to the university, and then we can make sure that we can help to support you into the university.
Fantastic. Okay, and just finally, if a student gets stuck anywhere in the application process, what would you kind of suggest that they need to do in that case?
Reach out. Yeah, absolutely. So get in touch with my team. I have an admissions inquiries team, and they are ready and willing and happy to help.
Fantastic. Well, Helen, thank you so much. I think those are all the questions I have. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Hopefully that helps you move forward with your application. Here's a bit more about what to expect at the University of Derby.
Hi, I'm Alice and I'm here at the University of Derby Hall of Residence. I'm visiting today to find out what life is like in halls for our students. So, Kirk, what happens in here?
Right, well, this is one of our common rooms. All of the halls of residence have a common room. Most of them will have a pool table. Some of the slightly larger ones will have a table tennis table. But it's just a place for students to come and relax, maybe have a few friends round. They might come in here, and if they want to make slightly more noise than they do in their actual flats, then they can do that in a common room. We also have halls events here. We have music nights, all sorts going on, and it's all provided for the students for free. Hi guys, how you going? Yeah, I've just got Alice here. She just wants to ask you a few questions about what it's like living in halls. Are you right to give her a bit of your time? Yeah, sure. Amazing. Cheers, guys.
Thank you ever so much for letting me into your flat like this.
Welcome.
So what's it like living in halls?
Honestly, really good. Can't lie. Mates for life, close to campus, close to city centre.
So for any students who might be living potentially close enough just to commute in and not try and live in Derby, what would you say to them?
Yeah, I had that option and I'm really glad I went with halls because you just get put with people straight away and you get to meet friends straight away and you're really part of the action.
And what would you say is the best thing about living in halls, all of you?
Friendly staff. Kirk's always smiley, always happy.
He's always that person that you can go to if anything's wrong.
Now, I've seen your kitchen, I've seen your communal spaces. Would any of you mind giving me a little look around your bedroom so we can see what the bedroom spaces look like?
Yeah, sure. Do you want to follow me? So this is a standard ensuite room at Peak. You've got a small double bed, more than enough for your student. A desk big enough for your work, games, books, anything you need. Got a more than big enough wardrobe behind you and a ensuite with a shower and toilet.
Brilliant, it's really lovely. So that's our halls of residence, a safe, supportive and well-located place to live for students. Visit our website to find out more about all our different halls.
Well, welcome back to AGAR's course, and I hope you enjoyed having a look around some of our other halls of residences in that video. Now, I'm joined by Sarah, who is our halls team manager here at the University of Derby, and she's going to be chatting to us about a couple of my questions to find out more about what it's like to live at halls. So, Sarah, thank you for joining us. And first of all, can you tell us what can our students expect to find at halls of residences when they move to Derby?
Yeah, okay, so when you do arrive, you'll find that we have lovely spacious bedrooms, lovely kitchens that have mostly been refurbished. If you're sharing bathroom and shower, then you'll share that within the flat group, but you also can have an ensuite room depending on your own choice. All of our halls are on a refurbishment programme, so they can all be kept to a really good quality. We have caretakers on site who do the odd jobs that might need doing, like if your light's out or something like that. And we also have a team of plumbers, electricians, etc., who will come and do any bigger jobs that you might need doing.
Amazing, thank you. And some of our students might want to know about cleaning and security. Could you tell us a little bit about that as well?
Yes, no, the cleaning team will come round to your flats once a week and they'll clean the communal areas. So if you're sharing the showers and the toilets, then they'll clean those. They'll also clean the kitchen for you. You're responsible for your own bedroom. Our security team work from 6 o'clock at night until 8:30 in the morning. And we have hall managers who work all day, Monday to Friday, as well as live-on staff. So there's 24-hour staff here for support if that's needed.
That sounds amazing. Now, I know that some of our students are going to be wanting to know what are the locations like of our halls of residences here in Derby?
Yes, so we are city centre based, so all of our halls are within walking distance of each other, and so that's quite nice if you've met people on your course, so you can meet people at other halls of residence and things. We also have events on, so you can meet people from different halls of residence as well as your own. And they're within walking distance both of the city centre and the learning campuses. So it's a really good way to get around town. All you need is your legs and you can just walk between the halls, and that's absolutely fine. We also have a free unibus, so if you wanted to get up a little bit later to get to your lectures, then you can just jump onto the unibus instead of walking.
Well, that's amazing. Sounds like our halls are really well connected here at Derby. So my final question for you, what can our students expect to help them settle in? Are there any programmes or anything that you put on to help them with that?
Yes, we do. So the first day that they arrive into halls at Welcome Weekend, we put on a welcome buffet for them in the morning, so they can come down for breakfast and they can meet other people within that hall. We also have a range of events such as Meet the Guide Dogs, going to Alton Towers, things like that, that can help them meet each other and be able to get friends, and so that they don't feel too isolated. The reason that our halls, or one of the reasons our halls have won the Platinum status, is because of our friendly, approachable staff, and the Platinum status is voted by the students, so they're the people who've told us that we're welcoming, we're friendly, and that we look after the students while we're here. So nobody should be worried about coming to halls.
That's amazing. Sarah, thank you so much for telling us a little bit more about what it's like to live at halls.
The University of Derby makes me feel empowered. They empowered me to break barriers and smash stereotypes.
Diverse. I feel like I'm part of a bigger community. And what I've learnt about my abilities and potential goes well beyond my degree.
Excitement. A transition that felt challenging to start, but led to excitement, built on my character and independence.
Passionate. A process of growth filled with fun, career opportunities, and beautiful people. A mixture of everything.
Independence. Derby has given me confidence and self-direction, allowing me to experience independence for the very first time.
Awakened to a world full of possibilities. Nothing is stopping us now.
Good morning, Carmel. As Pro-Vice-Chancellor Dean of the College of Business, Law and Social Sciences, what can students in your college expect during their time at Derby?
Thank you, Kelly. Our students will be exposed to state-of-the-art facilities as part of their learning experience. Also, they will be taught by people who are professionals in their areas. They have been there, they've worked in that sector before, and they bring along with them their experience, their connection and network, and that really enriches classroom experience. Also, some of them are active researchers in their area. So a combination of both make a whole student experience at Derby.
Brilliant. And what kind of careers do our students go on to do?
Our students will go through the course, and if they are studying, for example, a professional course, law, accounting, marketing, human resources management, some of them want to go straight after graduation into those disciplines. And there will be some others who would choose to say, you know what, I don't want to go into that anymore. But that's okay, that's fine. What we have done, or what we will be doing, is to ensure that they have necessary transferable skills to make them excel wherever they choose to go. And that's what we pride ourselves for.
Brilliant. And in the background over here, I can see that we've got some building work going off. Tell us about what's happening there.
Excellent. That's going to be the home of our new business school. A £75 million investment, the largest in the history of the university. And it's going to be in a zero carbon building. That speaks to our academic theme as an institution. One of the 6 is net zero carbon. Also, we have a number of researchers exploring different aspects of sustainability. So this actually brings their research work to life. So we are very, very proud of it, and we are looking forward to it. It embodies all we do as a business school. It also embodies state-of-the-art facilities that will make a difference in the learning experience of our students.
And tell us a little bit about those facilities. What can students expect to find in the building?
Yes, students are depending on their course of studies. If they are just studying economics, finance, accounting related programs, they will have a trading floor powered by Bloomberg, for example, with live data to work with, and that makes a huge difference. Also, if they are studying marketing, they will have a marketing laboratory, supply chain laboratory, strategy lab. So, and these laboratories are actually available regardless of the course you are studying. You can actually benefit from those facilities and even have certification through some micro-credentials opportunities, particularly for those who may decide not to pursue what they studied in the university. And another very significant element of it is the gateway to the university. That's what it's going to be. So we have opportunities to collaborate with businesses within the city, within the region, nationally, and they will be attracted to it. And we're already making groundwork to ensure that that is the case.
All very exciting, and I'm sure we're really looking forward to it opening. Thanks very much, Carmel.
Pleasure.
We're now joined by Dr. Jennifer Gant, a lecturer on our law programs. Jennifer, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So can you tell us a bit about the course and its pathways?
Certainly. So we have a standard LLB with honours course, and that all kind of begins in the same way. So we have a number of modules that they will take for the first 2 years that are the same. We also have a law with criminology pathway. So that follows the same pattern as the standard LLB, but then the third year they get to take a number of criminology electives. We also have a number of pathways within the LLB, such as so there's a commercial law, company law pathway, there is a public policy pathway, and several other ones, which basically kind of mean you will take specified third-year modules to focus on a specific specialization.
Goodness, okay. And what kind of key skills would like law students develop?
I would like to say that University of Derby, the School of Law, we do things a little bit differently than a lot of other law schools. So we revalidated, I think 3 or 4 years ago now, and when we revalidated the course, we thought it was important to bring into it a number of skills and a focus on skills. So we've now developed what we call a skills spine. So essentially, their first year they take one whole year-long module that is around beginnings of legal skills, legal research, how to read cases, how to read legislation, some initial bits on writing, so the basic skills that you need to study the law. Okay. The second year, they do a module that I teach called Law and Business in Context, and this raises the skill level where we have to think about things like critical thinking, strategic thinking, but it also places what they're learning in the context of commercial awareness and business, which even though they're law students, when you're in the legal profession, you still have to consider business issues. Sure. And the third year, they do commercial awareness and business acumen. And this, again, builds on the skills that they've done in the second and first year to look at sort of immediate problem solving. So they might get a brief right there in the session and have to kind of work out together how to solve that particular problem, not just from a legal perspective, but also from a practical perspective. So it raises the skill level of these students, not just to practice in law, but into any profession. So I think that makes the law school quite unique in what it does in its provision.
Nice, goodness. I feel like you've kind of touched on it briefly, but what kind of modules can students take whilst on this course?
Absolutely. So in the first year, they take contract law, tort law, constitutional law, and administrative law.
Yep.
So all of them will take that, whatever pathway they're on. The second year, they take land law, tort law, criminal law, and the law and business and context module, as well as a single term of EU law. Because regardless of the fact that we've been through Brexit, we still operate and trade with the EU. Therefore, it's important that we understand how businesses are going to deal with those changes.
Absolutely.
And then in the third year, I'm not going to remember all of the modules because there's a number of electives that they can take during the third year. There's, I think, 3 around environmental law, dealing with different aspects of environmental law. There's evidence, company law, commercial and consumer law. I teach an employment law module myself. And I think domestic violence, family law, tons of different electives that they can choose to take in their third year.
It's quite varied.
Very varied.
Yeah.
And then not to mention the criminology modules that those following the law with criminology path can take, which include things like evidence and youth justice. And I'm not going to remember all of those.
No. I appreciate it. That's impressive. And what kind of opportunities are there for students to carry out work experience?
So there's quite a few different work experience opportunities. We have a lot of connections within the community and the region that offers things like internships and basic work experience, following people around in the magistrates court, for example. In our third year, we also have a module called clinical legal skills, and that starts with kind of learning the skills and learning reflection and the things you need to do to actually go and then practice within our Student Legal Advice Centre. So the students who undertake the clinical legal skills module in their third year are actually having to volunteer within the family law clinic. So they're having face-to-face interviews via Teams, but it's still, face-to-face via Teams, and doing interviews, advising clients under the supervision of a solicitor. So those students who take that get a whole year's worth on various weeks of work experience working in an actual clinic.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice. So you mentioned it a moment ago. Can you tell us more about the Student Legal Advice Centre?
Absolutely. So I've already mentioned family law. So we have a family law clinic. We deal with a lot of issues around accessing children. So fathers might come to ask for help to access their children if they're split up. We get little divorce questions, that kind of thing. We also have an immigration and family reunion clinic, which is focused on individuals who are coming over here to immigrate and then want to get their family to join them. So it's that kind of issue. We've also got a legal triage clinic, which is focused on helping other University of Derby students. So University of Derby students can come in, talk to our student legal advisors, and get help on things like, it's often housing or something of that nature. So there's that. We have a new clinic this year, which is Special Educational Needs and Disabilities. So it's a SEND clinic. That's the acronym for it. And that particular clinic focuses on issues surrounding access to education for children who have disabilities or neurodivergencies, and sort of interacting with the local authority, for example, to make sure those students are well served. We also have the Reach Out Clinic. That's another new clinic where we actually interact with prisoners in order to help them with certain family law matters. So that's a very interesting one that's just started this year. I also run the Business Law Clinic. That's focused on providing pro bono services to the business community, entrepreneurs within Derby and the region, as well as small business owners and that kind of thing. We also provide support for litigants in person, so individuals who are going into court to represent themselves. We don't advise them on the spot, but we sit with them and we give them support as far as we can. So that's all the kind of active clinics where people are actually getting practice experience.
Yes.
We also have 3 kind of more research-related clinics, one for each year. The first one is the Justice Project, where students will work on a project together that's around access to justice, and they'll do a presentation to not just the university and the law school, but also members of the community towards the end of the year. I run the Policy Clinic, which is aimed at second-year students, and that we usually get a brief, a policy brief, or a brief from someone in the community. This year we're looking at how to improve accessibility for individuals with neurodivergencies and disabilities to work within the volunteer sector.
Wow.
So there's a lot of employment law that covers how to help accessibility from an employment perspective, but it's a question around how do we deal with the same issues but within the volunteer sector. Right. And then the final one is the International Human Rights Clinic, which again, I think from the title is fairly obvious. It looks at international human rights, and it's similar to the Policy Clinic but on an international scale.
My goodness, thank you. And
You're welcome.
you mentioned one was had been introduced in the recent year.
Yeah.
Sounded quite interesting. So is it students that are working with inmates? Can you tell us a bit more about that?
I don't actually know that much about it, to be perfectly honest with you. I don't run that particular clinic, but it is obviously, because everyone needs to have their rights protected. You know, it doesn't matter what you've done in your life. Access to justice is there for everyone. And, you know, individuals who are in prison, yes, the students do help to deal with the kind of accessibility of children or children communication and that kind of thing.
Yes.
But other than that, I don't quite know how it works myself. So
that's fair. It's quite a course. I apologise.
No, it's okay. It's a very interesting one, but as it's very new and I don't work within it.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, that's fair. Thank you. So are there any professional links that the teaching team hold that they've been able to kind of bring into the student experience?
Absolutely. So most of us have some kind of practice background. So I qualified as a solicitor back in 2011, I believe it was, in Nottingham at Shoesmiths, and went into academia fairly shortly thereafter. But there are some who practiced for years in various areas. So we've got that practical expertise that we can pass on to our students through our teaching and through, you know, scenarios that we might devise. We've also got a huge research sort of cohort now within the law school. So I also do quite a lot of research. So we publish and we can bring that innovation, that interest, that theoretical context into our teaching as well. But apart from the staff, we've got, again, all these wonderful links with the community. We have guest speakers come in from you know, law firms and other community organizations to provide, you know, real life perspective on what it's really like out there. So there's tons of links that we have, and we continue to build those links with the community and with organizations in the volunteer sector, for example, to create more opportunities for students.
Nice. My goodness. And what kind of facilities do students get to learn in?
Yeah, no problem. The law school is based at 1 Friargate Square, which is right in the centre of Derby, pretty close to the centre anyway.
Yes.
So the lecture halls themselves, they have all the digital stuff that you might need, as long as it's working, which most of the time it is. But the nice thing about it is it gives us the opportunity to use a lot of our digital teaching skills to increase the kind of level of access that students can have to the ways of teaching as well. But we've also got, you know, there's blends downstairs for a cafe or something like that. We've got a few quiet study areas that students can go to. There's a full computer lab on the top floor, and all of the lecturers are based at 1 Friargate Square as well, so it makes us accessible too.
Nice. Okay. Yeah, I've actually kind of been there on a tour. I've been in one of the courtrooms. It's absolutely fantastic. It blew me away, honestly.
Yeah, there is the moot courtroom as well, I forgot to mention, which is fantastic.
Yeah, it's incredible.
It's a really good courtroom,
It really is. I tried to recreate an episode of Law and Order on it.
Oh.
It didn't work out well at all.
We do all of our mooting in that courtroom, so it gives students a real life experience. And mooting is essentially pretend court cases and things like that. So they get to wear the wig, they get to wear the coats, everything, yeah. So it's good. It's a really good practical experience.
Quite an authentic experience,
Very
I imagine.
much so, yeah.
And lastly, are there any opportunities for students to study abroad?
Well, the School of Law doesn't offer a particular opportunity to study abroad, but the university does, so they can engage with the university's programs. But while we don't offer study abroad opportunities, we do have 3 school trips every year, or university trips, law school trips.
Okay.
So the first years tend to go down to London. We take a look at various law-related things, the law courts down there. This year, the second years traditionally will go to The Hague. So that means we get to tour things like the International Criminal Court and that kind of thing, and also do a bit of traveling within the Netherlands.
Yes.
Most people go to Amsterdam, to be fair. This year, our third years are going to Edinburgh, but in the past we've gone to places like Dublin. And again, there's some things that we organize to try to get students to experience legal aspects.
Yes.
And we do organize some entertainment as well, but there's plenty of free time as well to kind of go and see what's going on in the city and hopefully not get into too much trouble.
Hopefully, emphasis.
Yeah.
That's so interesting. So what would you say is, weird question incoming, what would you say is kind of the criteria for students wanting to pick X country? Is it kind of like, I don't know, the modules that they're on, or just specific types of crime that happen in specific parts of those countries? What?
As in which one they'd want to go to?
Yeah.
Well, to be fair, they're actually aimed, first year goes to London, second year is available to go to The Hague. And that will probably be because, you know, we do EU law in the second year, so there's that connection for the second year.
Right.
So we're going to an EU country. I think, honestly, for the third year, the choice is often around things that you can do to have a little bit of fun.
Nice. Okay, that's fantastic. Well, those are all the questions I have. Jennifer, I want to thank you for your time.
No problem.
That's fantastic.
Thank you very much.
It's time now to learn more about one of our subject areas, and I have the programme lead for psychology, Dr. Gulchan Garip, here with me. Thank you very much for joining us. So Gulchan, psychology is often a popular subject at A-level. How is it different studying the subject at a degree level?
Yes, psychology is a very versatile subject. You can go into various areas of psychology upon completing your undergrad training and then doing the relevant stage 1 and stage 2 training pathways. At the University of Derby, we've got undergrad both online and on campus, and we've also got an online conversion psychology program as well for those who may have studied something completely different at university and want to kind of move into a more psychologically based area. You don't need to be limited to just psychology professions either. You can go into marketing, human resources, and really, I think any area where you're working with people, psychology does contribute something to that. So I think it's a very good option to study.
And what are the benefits of studying psychology at Derby in particular?
So Derby's got a really large psychology team for the size of the university. We've got a lot of diverse academics from different areas of psychology as well. I'm personally, I've got my expertise in health psychology. We've got a lot of research interests in nature connectedness, contemplative psychology, as well as biological and cognitive psychology areas as well. And I think all that variety and diversity gives students a really good exposure to those different areas as well.
And how do you keep the course up to date with what's happening outside of the university in terms of the industry and the research that's happening?
Well, apart from the general kind of quality assurance and psychological society standards, we've also got people interested in their own areas of research. We regularly attend conferences and we're also engaging with colleagues from other institutions as well to make sure that we're staying on top of the latest developments and also collaborating with them for various research projects.
And what sort of practical experiences can students expect to have on this course?
We do pride ourselves in trying to make sure that whether you're studying on campus or online, you've got parity of experience. Obviously, there are some limitations when you're perhaps studying online. You might not be able to do what an on-campus student does in terms of coming into a lab and using one of our cold pressors or using one of our other kind of EEG equipment to look at brain waves and those sorts of things. But you are able to kind of book equipment through the online systems, and if you are able to come onto campus, you'd still be able to use those facilities And we've got a whole host of online software as well that both online and on-campus students can use.
That's fantastic. Now, we've recently expanded the different versions that can be offered for this subject to include different subject combinations. What would a student get from having a sort of combination course rather than just straight or pure psychology?
So this is actually a really great opportunity because as a student, when I was studying psychology, I was really torn between what areas I wanted to study. And at the time, I wasn't able to find a course that met my needs in the UK, and I had to look elsewhere. But with these joint honours courses, if you've got two areas of interest, for instance, you'd be able to look at combining them during your undergrad studies.
And whatever combination somebody does choose, why is Derby the place they should be studying it?
I think our team is a really great team. I've been part of it for 8 years, and I've really seen the team grow both individually and as a group. And I think the attention to detail and the care we give to students is one of those unmatched with other places. I might be biased.
Just a little bit, just a little bit. Now, how does studying psychology at Derby expand a student's mindset?
So we see people from all walks of life, but what we want to ensure is that at the end of completing one of our programs, that students will develop the skills to think critically. They'll be able to have a basic understanding of how to conduct research in a way that is going to meet those steps that the scientific method outlines. And we don't just focus on quantitative, but we also introduce qualitative research methods as well as the core areas of psychology as well. And after finishing off from that, students have a choice of going into health, ergonomics, forensic psychology, which are programs that we also offer.
That's fantastic. And in terms of careers, you've touched a little bit there about the sorts of subjects that students might go into, but what sorts of careers can they expect with a degree in psychology?
So studying an undergraduate degree in psychology is the first step you would do before you can specialise into some of those more core professions in psychology. So if you did want to, say, become a health psychologist or a clinical psychologist, you do need to go on to further study, and a lot of our students do. But if you are kind of looking to gain work experience and employability, there are lots of opportunities either within the NHS, within educational psychology, trainee opportunities, where you can study alongside working as well. So I think those are some of the options that I would mention.
Sounds great. Where do I sign up? Thank you very much for joining me here today, Gulchen. It's been really good to hear from you. Thank you. Speaking of research, let's take a look now at how we approach it at Derby. And then next up, we'll be finding out about our teacher training and other education subjects.
Research is changing the way we see and understand things. At Derby, you will be taught by leading researchers. Their groundbreaking findings not only have real-world impact, but inform your curriculum, giving you the most up-to-date teaching in your subject area. There are so many opportunities to get involved in research, such as attending conferences, being part of a research experiment, or conducting your own research project. The skills and knowledge you gain through experience and research will allow you to shine and stand out in job interviews. We are at the forefront of discoveries. Quite simply, research never stands still, and neither does the University of Derby.
Welcome back. We're here in our Institute of Education and I'm joined by Rebecca Petronzi, who's English Subject Lead in Primary Initial Teacher Education. Hi Rebecca, thanks for joining us today.
Hi, thank you for coming along.
So talk to us about the different routes into teaching. We know that we have a variety of options here at Derby. We have a 3-year and a 4-year programme. So talk to us about what they involve.
So we have, as you said, 2 undergraduate programmes that get straight into teaching. So they come out with, on the 3-year route, what's called a BEd, with qualified teacher status or recommendation for qualified teacher status, and what we call an integrated masters, which is our 4-year route, which also has recommended QTS. That recommendation for QTS is the bit that allows you to go forward into a career in teaching, but in order to do that, it is a graduate profession, so you do need to have that degree level qualification. So our 3-year route is at an undergraduate degree level, and our 4-year gets you a master's at the end of it. And the reason that's quite interesting is because when you're in education and you want to move forward into leadership, or perhaps you want to expand into higher roles within education, that master's really gives you that critical eye and allows you to access different roles that perhaps you wouldn't have opportunity to. And one of the reasons we think it's brilliant is because you could do that later in your career, but that's really hard when you've got a class to look after or you've got other roles in the school. When the 3-year route and the 4-year route, they both involve school placements, so there's lots of opportunity to learn practically on the job, and they both involve opportunity to kind of personalise and tailor your degree a little bit. So whether that's things like working in civic responsibility or with our local facilities here in Derby, we do a lot of work with the Museum of Making, for instance. We go to things like Elveston Castle, which is a great local environment, to do some outdoor learning in the curriculum. But all of them include research as well. So that's a great opportunity for students to go, what am I interested in? What's brought me here? Things whether it's like speech and language, or maybe they're interested in SEND, or maybe they're interested in a particular subject such as PE. And they can research a particular area there and find out more and really drive their career forward because they've got that knowledge base when they go through for jobs.
It sounds really exciting, Rebecca. We're in one of our teaching classrooms here today, and you've touched upon sort of that outdoor learning environment. Talk to us about the facilities that our students get to access if they study here at the University of Derby.
So as you said, we're in the Institute of Education, and part of that is we have kind of themed classrooms. So we're in the maths classroom today, where a lot of our maths learning happens, and we have a range of facilities here to really engage with practical learning, because a big part of our degrees is understanding the theory behind the classroom practice, and in order to do that you have to be able to deconstruct how children learn. So we use a lot of practical resources, whether it's things like Numicon or 10 Squares, but in each classroom we have it kind of themed. So for instance, in our science classroom we'll do some science experimentation. One of the interesting ones that our science lead does at the minute is dunking biscuits, which sounds silly, but it's a great way to think about how things dissolve and temperature of tea and things like that. So lots of scientific experiments going on there. We also have a forest schools area. So we have a practitioner that takes our students down to do some forest school learning and think about the value of that within education. And as part of this, as I've said, we use the local community, but we have partnership schools we work with. So we work with a range of schools across Derby, Derbyshire, some into kind of Staffordshire and Nottinghamshire, depending. And those partnership schools are where a lot of our real core learning happens, where students get to take what they've learned in university and apply that into different environments. And it's really interesting because what they learn is we might show you how to use reading books here or learn early reading skills such as systematic synthetic phonics, but when you go into the classroom it won't work exactly the same in every school. So both of our routes, our 3-year and our 4-year route, include different placements. So in year 1, you might be in a year 6 class. That sounds scary to everyone who's watching, don't worry. We'll prepare you for it. And in your 2nd year of training, you might be in an early years classroom, because we are a 5 to 11 programme. So you need to have that variety of experience. And we try and do the same thing as well with locality and demographic. So we might try and send you to schools in quite rural areas one year and then inner city schools another year, because again, the number on roll, the number of pupil premium children, the local facilities, all of that changes the way a school works. So our partnership is a big part of what we do, and I think we're really proud of that.
Great. And you touched upon it there, but how do we prepare students to be confident teachers when they go into the classroom?
So the range of experiences is definitely part of it. Our degrees are also about developing the wider professional. So it's not just about preparing them to be a teacher, it's preparing them for life skills as well. So things like the civic responsibility part of our degree, that's thinking about the wider impact that you can have through the skills you've developed. And what we find is a lot of our students grow in confidence over the years because we scaffold the level of not just accountability, but the level of opportunity they have and level of freedom and autonomy they have with their practice. So in their first stage, their placements quite supported. You might work with small groups, you might do a lot of observing so you can get your confidence and know what the classroom practice needs to look like and how to do it. Whereas in stage 3, you're teaching 80% of the time. You're teaching the same as you would an early careers teacher. And so that transition, because it is so gradual and it's supported by the university learning and the wider experiences, we find that a lot of our students feel ready for the classroom. And our schools comment on that. I've worked quite closely with a head teacher that's commented on our 4-year programme students because they get to go into school and do a bit more of a strategic role. So for the master's level learners in their final year, they get to engage with the wider school community and have more of an impact than just their class. And head teachers have commented really positively on that and the fact that they can see how they've grown in confidence. And particularly when we have students that return to their first year school and the schools can see how they've grown and they're like, wow, they've become such an amazing teacher. And that's all through the way they engage with the programme and the experiences they have.
Great. And if someone's considering a career in teaching, what advice would you give to somebody?
Well, firstly, it's an amazing career. Everyone who is a tutor at the University of Derby in our initial teacher education, we are all teachers. We love the career. We love working with children. A lot of us have still got roles in school, so whether that's we're governors or we're doing supply work or school improvement work. And so the first thing is to know that you love it. And part of that is to go into a school. Now, we can't require that as part of a course, but we always recommend it because you get to see the reality of the day in, day out. You get to see the work that goes on behind the scenes. It's very different being a teacher than it is being a child. So you might feel really positively about your school experience because you were a child, but you didn't see the work your teacher put in. And so going in and seeing that reality will help you prepare and know what to expect, and also give you a bit of subject knowledge. So for instance, if you were teaching maths, it would help you to brush up on your own mathematics skills, ready to teach those children because you're learning alongside them. So we always say, try and get some time in the class, voluntary reading, working with like after school clubs, anything like that, just because it helps you transition into your role as a teacher.
And why should students choose Derby?
Well, I love Derby, to be honest. We're really lucky. We, like I said, we're all ex-teachers or currently in the profession ourselves. And we're really passionate about the career. And I think that comes through in our teaching practice because we want you to be passionate about what you do in the classroom and really committed to making a difference in the lives of children. So all of our teachers are probably a bit friendly and a bit silly in some ways. We're not kind of traditional academics because we are primary practitioners, so get used to that. But we have a really good graduate outcomes as well. So our students tend to get employment pretty quickly after they leave. I think we've got a 95% rate of graduate employment at the minute. Lots of our students as well are choosing to go and teach abroad, and they've got those transferable qualifications for it. And I think that's something that our programme facilitates because of the experiences we have within it. We also, we've got these wider facilities, we've got this community impact, we've got our forest schools, all of these things that take us outside of a traditional university learning environment to enhance the experience. But it wouldn't happen without our excellent partnership. We put a lot of work into our collaboration and communication with the schools in our community. And part of that is that it's like a give and take relationship. So they work really closely with our beginning teachers, our students, to give them the best possible training experience they can. And we work really closely with them to enhance their provision or to support them in any way they need. And that give and take relationship means that whilst you are at the University of Derby, you are training with us, but you are part of that wider school partnership too.
Thank you very much. There's some great insight there, Rebecca. Thanks ever so much for your time.
Thank you.
Back to you in the studio.
It's time now to learn more about one of our subject areas. Computing at Derby can take you from game design to cybersecurity. We're now joined by final year student on computer science software development, Sam Vontolini. Welcome, Sam.
Thank you very much.
So what made you choose the University of Derby?
Well, it goes back to 2020, actually. One of my friends attended to the Open Day in Derby. He knew that I wanted to pursue computer science, and then we had a conversation. He mentioned how the computing labs are, all the technology that they have on campus and everything. And basically, he convinced me to apply for computer science in Derby. I was living in Nottingham at the time, yeah. So I applied for computer science in Derby. Then I moved to Derby, from Nottingham to Derby, and started my course in 2020. Yeah.
And what's been the highlight of your course so far?
I think it was probably the opportunity I had to pursue my career at the Met Office. I had a lot of support from the university, especially from the placement team. I think that was great, actually. I had so much support from the university, and my experience at the Met Office, working from people like all around the world, was really insane. It was really cool, really nice.
So what new skills and knowledge did you learn while on this placement?
Well, I think working with people was probably one of the biggest difference for me, something that I really learned from. The Met Office, they have loads of different partners like Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, India, and working directly with the government, people from different culture, different mindsets, different way of thinking. I think that was really great, actually. I'm probably going to take that along with me. And also all the technology they have. The Met Office is really known to have like one of the best weather forecasting technology in the world. So working like with top technology was great, was really interesting.
And how do you feel that this placement is going to help you in your future career?
Definitely open doors for my future. Again, I've learned so much from it. All the new technologies that are available at the moment, probably I have a little bit understanding about it because I was working for them. So I also work close with the Microsoft engineers, clouding engineers. So that's a new technology that they are bringing to the UK, to the Met Office. It's a very expensive technology as well. So that's a brand new thing that most companies in the UK will start bringing that to their business at some point. So I have a bit of knowledge on that as well. So I think that will be great for me after graduation, yeah.
And what about technology that you've used at the university? How have you found that?
Well, I've used, as a computer science student, I use some of the computing labs, especially the VR lab. Which is great. I developed one of my best projects on the VR lab, which was basically like a school classroom where people could interact with the lectures. It was specific for people with disability, so you could interact virtually with the lectures without the physical contact. So that was a technology that is available at the University in Derby, and I made use of it, and it was great. Yeah.
And what about your lecturers throughout this process? Have they been supportive? How have they helped you along the way?
Definitely. My lecturer from software engineering supported me a lot to get my placement at the Met Office. One of the interview process was to have a presentation about software engineering. It was a 1-hour presentation, so I really need to know as much as I could to present very well my ideas about software engineering to the Met Office. And he really supported me like all the way out through the process. I remember that he asked me to send my presentation to him. He checked all my presentation, everything that could be improved. So yes, I really got loads of support from him, so I'm really grateful for that.
And am I right in thinking that you've joined the Erasmus scheme as well? And
yes.
What did you get from that?
Yes. So during my second year, I applied for the Erasmus scheme. I went to Romania for 2 weeks. It's very different. It's a beautiful country. The food is amazing. I worked with one university in Romania to try to change the computer science curriculum, basically. Try to improve, to bring new technologies, new way of the students to make like mobile applications and this kind of things to their course. So I stayed 2 weeks there. I helped them to improve their computer science curriculum during the summer, so it was great, yeah.
And what advice would you give to anybody thinking of studying computing at Derby?
I think it's a great and diverse place to be. I love it. All the support I got from, from soft engineering lecture, all the lectures I had, it was great. I loved it. Also, this city is amazing. I love nature, and the Peak District is just one of the best places you can go. If you just want a weekend, like a refresh or something, Peak District is amazing. It's beautiful. People are really supportive. So yeah, definitely is a place I can recommend anyone who wants to do computer science to be.
That's great. Thank you very much. And all the best with the rest of your studies.
Thank you. Thank you
future
very
career.
much.
Thanks,
Thank
Sam.
you.
Thank you. We'll be right back with more after this short video.
We're here today with Billy Joe Smith, one of our sports scholars at the University of Derby, and we're here in one of our state-of-the-art facilities, which is our sports centre. Thank you ever so much for joining us today. First of all, just tell us, what does it actually mean to be a sports scholar at the University of Derby?
So being a sports scholar basically means that we can combine our academic studies as well as compete at sport at a high level. So we get support in terms of not only academic support, but also strength conditioning, physiotherapy, and we kind of get guided as well through some of our professionals that we have as part of Team Derby.
Great, and tell us a little bit about what your sport is. You're a professional golfer, that's right, isn't it? And you compete at a very high level.
Yeah, so I'm currently on the Ladies European Tour, so I turned professional a couple of years ago, which was just after I signed up to do my PhD. So I'm doing that full time as well. So basically, it all started when I was about 4 years old. I kind of went to the golf club with my grandparents, and then they eventually bought me some golf clubs on my 5th birthday. And from there, I've not really looked back. I've competed kind of through the amateur ranks at county, regional, and then national and international level, and then decided to make the decision to turn professional.
Excellent. And you're also studying here at the University of Derby as well. So tell us what you're studying and how you combine that with your professional golfing as well.
So it's kind of all relative, to be honest. I'm studying biomechanics in the golf swing. So yeah, it's kind of relative to what I do on a day-to-day. And yeah, I use the HPU downstairs, record lots of golf swings, and basically try and find some theories, things that I can find out from that. And yeah, writing lots of papers about it.
It sounds like it's a lot of hard work, and your schedule must be extremely busy. How has the university supported you, and how has the sports scholarship benefited you in terms of your career goals and your future aspirations?
So I think a key thing about the sports scholarship is that we can follow a dual career path. So as I said before, we can take our studies and not necessarily kind of come and go as we wish, but we get support in how to structure playing, well, for me, playing golf at a high level, and for other scholars, whichever sport that they're choosing to do, whilst at the same time kind of getting more of an understanding from academic staff why maybe we have missed the small deadline, or we've had to miss a lecture or something for training. So we kind of get a bit of support in that we can go and catch up. If we do miss a deadline, we can get a small extension to kind of help us with that, which also takes the pressure off us when we're competing. We don't want to be thinking about too many things at once when we're trying to do well at something.
Excellent. And here today we're in our sports centre, and this is one of the facilities you use. And you've mentioned our HPU, which is our Human Performance Unit. What other facilities do you use on site here, and how does that help you in your studies and your sporting efforts as well?
Yeah, so the HPU is mainly where I do my academic work. We've got a Vicon motion capture system in there and some force plates, which is very high tech. So yeah, we're really lucky to have that as well. So that kind of helps me do what I do academically. Also, we have a new gym downstairs. It's just been refurbished, as well as the gym that the scholars use. So during our sessions, when we're doing strength conditioning, we can use that as well. Other than that, we have kind of the whole sports centre really I use, and I find it quite comfortable in the fact that obviously I'm surrounded by people of kind of similar situations, and we can speak amongst ourselves what we've been up to, as well as main campus. So in the atrium, it's quite a social area as well. So yeah, people can kind of come together and use all of those facilities.
That's really great. And what advice would you give to somebody who's considering taking up a sports scholarship at the University of Derby? They want to pursue studies, but also combine that with their sporting aspirations as well. What would you say to them?
Having spoken to other people that have come from different universities, people that have gone to America as well, I think the University of Derby is quite high up there in terms of how they support athletes and people that want a career in sport. I think that we not only get the really highly rated academic staff, but we also get the staff that help us with our progression in sport. And I think having both of those things in a university is quite rare. So I think I've been lucky enough to find this here, and would hope that other people manage to do the same thing.
That's great. Thank you ever so much for talking to us today. That's all from here in the Sports Centre at the University of Derby.
Welcome back. We know there is a clear link between well-being and academic success. So all of our students have access to services which are designed to support them. We're now joined by Sarah Richardson, who is the Head of Student Services at Derby. Sarah, hello.
Hello.
How are you doing? You okay?
I'm good, thank you.
Good, good, good. So firstly, Sarah, could you summarise what Student Services kind of supports with?
Absolutely. So Student Services is there to provide the bulk of the pastoral support for our students to complement all the academic support that's available. Student Services consists of 3 key teams. That's our counselling and mental health team, which provides that emotional and mental health support that's really vital to our students. We've got our disability service, which provides key support for our disabled students. And then we've got our student life team that's there to support all of those other aspects that students may find difficulty with during their studies.
Fantastic, okay. Obviously, mental health is a massive priority for all of us. So what do we kind of have in place to make sure our students are kind of taken care of in that area?
Absolutely, it's so critical. We've obviously got the key services within my teams. We've got that clinical support through our counselling and mental health team. They offer counselling appointments and also mental health practitioner appointments. Through our disability service as well, students can access the Disabled Students Allowance, which will also give them access to a specialist mental health mentor. Many of our students find that a really key support. The Student Life team as well offer a whole range of services coping with difficulties with sleeping, anxiety, managing stress. And then we've got a lot of peripheral services around Student Services, which are really there just to link in and support good mental health.
Brilliant, okay. And are there any costs involved when accessing any of these services?
Absolutely not. All of our services are entirely free.
Fantastic, okay. So some students may not need like clinical support, but may have other things kind of going on that impact their studies. So is this the sort of situation in which Student Services can kind of help?
Absolutely. We recognise that for students, they're with us for 3-4 years plus. There's going to be ups and downs in life that students experience that we all do. So we've got a range of services, particularly the Student Life team. Difficulties, students may have difficulties with relationships, disturbed sleep, anxiety, exam stress. Those are all normal things that can happen during a student's time with us. So the Student Life team's absolutely there to help. We've also got as well the Talk Campus app, which is a fantastic peer-on-peer mental health support app. It can just allow students to reach out and engage with other students 24/7 around the globe, and they can just link in with students and just talk through some of the life difficulties that they might be experiencing.
Goodness, brilliant. Okay, and similarly, I know you kind of touched on disability student allowance.
Yeah.
So with regards to students that have disabilities, what kind of things do we have in place to support them?
Yeah, absolutely. A huge range of support at Derby. So we've got a dedicated disabled disability team, who will ensure that a student, once they've made contact with that team, is allocated a disability advisor. That advisor will assess the student and then talk to them about a bespoke package of support. So there'll be the things that we can support on campus, and that might be extensions, it might be adaptations in the classroom, adaptations in accommodation. We'll also then support the student to apply for the Disabled Students Allowance, and then that disabled disability advisor will be with the student throughout their student journey, and will constantly review that support package to make sure that it's absolutely supporting the student's needs.
Excellent, okay. And how do kind of students access student services, and should they be doing this before they come to the university?
Absolutely, absolutely. I would strongly urge students put it on their to-do list before they come to us. Any student that is looking to come to the University of Derby can engage with the team, with the student services teams. They can actually start to put those supports in place so that when they get here, end of September, beginning of October, that support package is in place and they can just get on with studying, get on with making friends. So they can either contact the team via email, telephone, all of those details are on our web pages, and the teams are already there, happy to support.
That's incredible. Sarah, I have no more questions for you, so thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
We'll be back soon with more from our Open Day live stream. Welcome back. We've been watching out for your questions this morning, and now we're going to be answering them for you. We've just got time to run through a few of the questions we have received so far, and we'll reply to everybody else later on today. So, first question, what is the nightlife like in Derby? So there's a variety of student nights to choose from, and a number of clubs, bars, and pubs with a range of different music and vibes. Next up, is it easy to get part-time work at Derby? It's a good question. So we have our own student employment agency, which can help you find work within or outside of the university. Next up, with the cost of living crisis, are bills all-inclusive with halls? So really important questions. So absolutely, all of your utilities and Wi-Fi costs are covered. Next up, is there Wi-Fi on campus? So there is free Wi-Fi. It's available across all of our campus sites, and it's also included within your halls of residence. Next up, is all teaching now back face-to-face, or is some still online? So all our campus-based courses are taught in person, and we do offer a range of digital resources designed to supplement your self-study outside of the classroom. Next up, when do we need to sort accommodation? So you can apply for halls once you've firmed your offer with the university. For international students, however, wherever you choose to live, we strongly advise that you arrange it before you arrive into the UK, as we don't want you to turn up with nowhere to live. Next up, can I get an update on my CAS? So if you are looking for an update, you can email askadmissions@derby.ac.uk for questions around your application, and CAS, that's CAS, @derby.ac.uk, or international@derby.ac.uk for general queries. They can then direct you to the right place. And last question, can we work while studying? So yes, students are free to find part-time work outside of their studies. For international students, you would have a max allowance of 20 hours a week, but would need to make sure that you can still attend classes, of course. Our International Student Hub can help with understanding what work is permitted. And that's it. A huge thank you to all students and staff who have been a part of our event today, and to all of you joining us for our Open Day live stream. Today's Open Day is continuing for several more hours on campus, so if you're on your way, we'll see you soon. If you've liked what you've seen and want to come and visit, you can book your place now for our next event on Saturday, the 22nd of June, and you can book on our website. But if you're joining us from overseas or can't make it in person, our virtual tour is available wherever you need it, with more to see about our courses, city, and accommodation on our website. And from all of us here, it's a goodbye for now.
Hi, I love working at Derby because I like being part of the College Student Centre teams. It's great to be able to support our students all the way through from enrolment to graduation. We get a lot of students in the College Student Centres that may be struggling, and it's fantastic when we've been able to help and support them to achieve their degree and see them walk across the stage during graduation.
As someone who works with international students from all around the world, I love the University of Derby because it presents an opportunity for students from over 50 countries to come and study with us. It's such a melting pot of different nationalities.
What I love about the University of Derby is our relationship with our partner organisations, allowing excellent placement opportunities. It means our students can be the innovators and future leaders in our communities.
I love coming to work at the University of Derby to be part of a team of staff that are dedicated, committed to make sure our students can flourish and grow while they learn here. It's great to support our students be their best selves and be part of their onward learning journey.
I love how the university prioritises its students and tailors the resources towards our needs. I love how my lecturers and tutors are so supportive and help me achieve my potential as a student.
I love the University of Derby because it gives so many opportunities for everybody to develop their skills. Working in the library skills team, I get to see that every day and it's brilliant.
What I love about the University of Derby is the community feel. I work at the Halls of Residence and it's such a great place for the students to come and stay, meet other people. And I think it really represents the university as a whole, which is a real lovely family environment.
What I love about working at the University of Derby is I get to engage with students from enrolment straight through, see their progression to the end of their studies, and then it all ends with graduation and how we can celebrate with them on their special day.
Some of the main reasons why I love working at the University of Derby, as it's a fantastic place to work. It gives amazing opportunities for students and staff.
I love Derby because we offer amazing opportunities to students, from work experience to part-time jobs to graduate careers.
I love the University of Derby due to the positive impact it has on the student experience and their academic journeys. Here at the Union of Students, we have the pleasure of working with the university to deliver a variety of different activities, whether that be supporting the student voice, delivering events and activities such as freshers, or providing clubs and societies for those students looking to socialise. It's a pleasure to work with the university on all the things we do.
I love working at the University of Derby Library because I remember what it was like to be a student. I remember the array of emotions from pure joy to pure panic. And I remember the consistency of the library being there for me. So I really love the fact that I now get to do that for students.
There are many different reasons as to why I love the University of Derby. But the main one for me is the different opportunities that you can seize. So being an alumni of the university and an ex-student, I got involved with becoming a student ambassador, a content creator, and an academic representative. I now look forward to making a positive impact in the graduate scheme as an associate in marketing.
What I love about the University of Derby is the support for diversity and communal living. As an international student, I believe one of our dreams when migrating to a new country is to settle in smoothly and seamlessly and get comfortable as fast as we can. The University of Derby is a great place to be because it supports diversity and communal living, which in the long run not only helps with personal development, but also professional growth, as this is what I am experiencing.
The thing I love most about the University of Derby is teaching. When teaching, I can be myself, and by creating a fun and exciting environment for students, I allow them to become the best versions of themselves.
What I love about Derby is that the university has a really strong commitment to ensuring that our students are ready for the workplace and to make sure that when they leave university, they're ready to go straight into graduate level employment.
What I love about Derby is that it's a community that's big enough to contain a rich diversity of people from a whole range of traditions and backgrounds and perspectives, enabling all sorts of stimulating ideas and initiatives to emerge. But it's a community that's small enough so that you feel you can find a place within it and a real sense of belonging. That's what I love about Derby.
I love Derby. As a staff member and as a student, I had the opportunity to explore my passion, and that's why Derby's brilliant.